Hello and welcome to Springboard, your virtual university. My name is Albert Okran. Welcome you to Ghana's foremost developmental program and that place where the greatest minds in the world converge. Springboard is brought to you by the Springboard Roadshow Foundation and proudly sponsored by MTN Ghana and the Enterprise Group with media support from the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. This program is also powered by the Ghana Grows Program, a collaboration between MasterCard Foundation and the Springboard Roadshow Foundation. So today we settle on a very interesting conversation about work, that all-important subject of work, dignified and fulfilling work. And so we want to explore how to stay relevant in a world of work that keeps changing literally every single day. My guest for today is very well placed to help us find the building blocks and the moving parts of the world of work. She's a learning and development specialist with one of the leading financial institutions in the continent. And I pray, I trust that something she says today will inspire you to find your feet and live out your dream. If you are listening alone, call a friend to call a friend as we talk about the changing world of work and how to stay relevant. My guest, Ivy Mawuko. Ivy, good to see you.
Thank you so much, Albert, and thank you for having me.
Well, it's a blessing.
And greetings to all our listeners out there.
Wonderful, wonderful. How big is this conversation?
Albert, I think it's prime for the continent and also for our country. I mean, if you look at the fact that by 2030, it's reported that 60% of Africa's population will be young people, and the direction of growth for Ghana and for many nations on the continent hinges on young people and the ability to find decent work. And I think we're going to be talking about work and really demystify this whole concept of work and really place people in the direction that gives them more and to fulfill themselves as they pursue the world of work. So I'm really excited about our conversation.
So am I. And you touch on a very sensitive point about Africa's youth bulge. In a sense, it is both a threat and an opportunity. An opportunity because a vibrant young population means that we have a great labor force, but a threat because if we don't point people to where work is and where the world of work is going, they could literally find themselves out of work and it could become a security issue. So today is very key for our young people. Let me go to my favorite economic subject, my Economics 101. Adam Smith in the 18th century said the factors of production are land, labor, and capital. So labor was right there. And in his theory, he said wealth is created through productive labor, and that self-interest is what motivates people to put their resources to best use. And that was the beginning of the discussion about what are the factors that lead to production. But he postulated that people go to do their work for self-interest. We will explore that a bit as we go along. What is the driver of people's motivation for work? But let me ask you, is that the antecedent? Is that where the discussion about work was founded? Is that where it began, in your opinion?
I beg to differ. I think the world of work, or work, was commissioned by God, and he's the first worker. He started creating, and he created us for work. So work is actually an expression of oneself. In fact, I'd like to share the real definition of what God meant by when he was creating the world. He created, the first day he created the sun and the moon, and then he said, it was good. The word good meant, look at me, God. If you want to know who I am, I'm an expression of what I create. So work is actually an expression of who we are. And that dates back to creation. And so that's why work is important, Albert. If we attach purpose to work, then there's dignity in work and there's dignity in every labor. So I just hope that it adds to
It does.
Adam Smith's notion of work.
Right.
But the first worker is God himself.
I guess that from the pastoral point of view, which is my central vocation, when God put Adam in the garden, they were to tend the garden, and that is work right at the beginning. let me borrow from the Bible to respond to your point. And Proverbs 14:23 says, in all labor, there is profit. In all labor. That means that any kind of work that you find that is decent, there is profit in it. And that it is mere talk that leads to poverty. In the light of what the Bible is saying, that every labor can be profitable, why is it that people grew up so obsessed by a certain limited scope of what decent work is and struggle to avert themselves to other areas as profitable, decent, and fulfilling? Where did this come from?
That's very interesting. I think, Albert, we need to also push the understanding of what work is, because we've also categorized work into hot jobs and work titles that are more interesting, and people pursue those. So if you ask someone who is into, let's say, the fashion industry, he said, "Oh, I'm just a seamstress." So it just goes to point to certain jobs are more important than others. So we haven't really broadened the scope of what work is available for all of us. Because Albert, to tell you, there are very different interests that people have. Some people are interested in animals, others are not. Some people are interested in data, others are interested in people. So this interest was given to us when we were created. So we actually have different general interests. What has happened over the years, and I read a research work that many entrepreneurs in Africa pursue entrepreneurship opportunities for survival. And that's why we don't see that growth and sustainable growth that comes with business. So we're just doing it to make ends meet. We need to move past that, to do that as a purpose. And that's what career is, doing something that speaks to your purpose and dream and aspiration. Certainly you must love it, you must be able to do it, and you must pay well. So it's not. So
your three factors are love it, be
do
good at
well,
it,
and it should pay you well.
and it should pay well.
And
so if the thing doesn't pay well, please stay away from it.
And it's a process. Otherwise, if you love it, you're good at it, you would enjoy it, but you would be poor. I mean,
the balance is very important.
The balance is important. So you must be good at it, meaning you've been trained, you've learned, you've developed the skill over time, and you're actually doing at global standard. People would pay you for that.
Let's break these three down. I think that we owe it to our listeners and viewers. So let's talk about love it. Let's talk about be good at it. And let's talk about it should pay. I think these three are the central themes of what you call decent and fulfilling work.
Absolutely.
Work that is done with purpose. You say, listen, it should not be survival driven. It should be opportunity or purpose driven. So let's start with love it. How do you know what you love?
That's a very good question, Albert. And everyone has that in them. So I just want to start off to say it's not for a few. Every individual created by God has something that they're passionate about.
What do you love?
I love counseling. I love talking to people. I love the one-on-ones, imparting knowledge, finding information, packaging it and giving it to people so they can solve problems.
When do you feel at your best?
When I'm able to do that.
What time of day?
In the morning, late at night, if at any time. That's why I'm here. Because this is one of the things that I said, this is something I'm passionate about. Let me take this opportunity and share what I know. So I love to do this. So I think my real strength and the moments when I feel I'm contributing is when I'm able to impart some information, I call it resources, for others to use on their journey. You love something else. Others love different things. So I want to just put that disclaimer out there that every human being has a passion. We need to find it. And I think one of the things that stops us from pursuing that passion is the dominant view that other things are more interesting than others.
So growing up, it was simple. I mean, if you wanted to really talk about a career, you must mention the top five. And it kept changing, but at least there was one that was constant. It was a doctor, lawyer.
Pilot.
I know, right? And it depended on where you lived. I grew up in Takrady, where there was an Air Force base, so pilot was featuring, but others grew up in different communities, so pilot was not a constant one, but there were some constants, and every child grew up knowing that this is what they wanted to do. And then as time went on, they found that there were several options that they had not even considered.
Exactly.
And you are saying that it must be something that you love. I mean, if I look today at the world today, there are several jobs that people are doing today that they could not have loved because they didn't even know they existed. So is it the job or it is something that the job does that you must love? Because you may not even know about the job that you'll be doing in the next 10 years or 5 years. So what is it about love? Is it something that you like doing that may be connected to the job, or it is the job itself that you must love?
I love what you're saying, Albert. I think the whole process of finding what you love, and if you want to turn it into a business, a career, like I said, it shouldn't just be a hobby, because why it has to have economic value.
Okay.
So you must love something to say, I'm pursuing this for business. Others will say, I love animals, I like to care for them. If you want to turn it into a business, then you need to study around, get education, get exposure, ask questions, get counseling, talk to people who are in that field, and obtain knowledge.
And that's the second part you're
And
talking
that's the
about.
second, so that you're good at it.
Becoming good at it.
Becoming good at it.
So study a course in it. Talk to people who are experienced in it. Get counsel from mentors or people who have gone ahead of you.
Read about businesses that are into animal care.
Right.
And dedicate your time to being good at it. I always say that when you start off something, even when you love it, and it means that naturally you are gifted. So if you take two people, one loves what they're doing, one chanced on it, the rate of learning and growth and accelerating that gift will differ based on passion and interest. So if I don't love animals and I chanced on it because my dad is a veterinary doctor, he says, this is the trade, you must follow my trend. I don't love it. I just happen to chance on it because my parents asked me to do it.
Can you make money from something you don't love?
You will struggle. You will not be happy.
Yeah, sure.
Of course.
But the bills will get
money
paid.
doesn't. You will, others, you will struggle. I mean, we know people, and I remember I had an interesting one-on-one with someone who works in the financial services organization. And we carried out a career assessment for her. It came out strongly that she loved fashion. So, when we read her report, it was an assessment we provide for people who are looking for what is my life's calling and so on. Albert, her topmost interest was fashion designing. So I asked her, what are you doing in a bank? And then she says, well, my parents paid for my MBA finance. They would be so disappointed if I said I was moving to pursue a career in fashion. Why? Because the dominant view is fashion doesn't pay. But you know that's not true.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you sew well, it pays. So you must be good at it and it must pay well. So the point back to what you said about being good at it and finding those means is that sometimes the main blocker is the dominant view of which career pays well. So for example, cooking, nobody considers cooking as a, but today.
Some time ago.
It's changed so massively. But now it's changing.
Massively.
And why is it changing? Because people are turning their interest into business.
And when you come to the business side of things, I'm still in the middle point. You started with loving it. Then you went to being good at it. Now you mentioned somebody who came to you with a conundrum, that's my own word, working in a financial institution and finding out that her real interest is in fashion. I was waiting for the conclusion. What did you tell her?
So I did tell her, so what are you going to do? And she says, Ivy, when I'm bored, I just take a paper and sketch designs and my mom sews them. I said, well, you don't need to leave your job now because obviously you need to pay the bills, but you need to plan towards an exit and have a conversation with your parents. Tell them this is what you really love to do. Show them that this can be a profitable business and seek the support you need. Like, you can't just pursue interest without knowledge. I love what I do, so I'm going to plunge into it. You need education.
This issue of agriculture, some time ago, it was the favorite punishment of a student who has been naughty in class. You are sent to the school farm to go and weed. That student finishes school and will not even consider farming or agriculture as something worth considering, because in the mental frame of the person, it is punishment. Yeah. Google farming, agriculture, and the picture is of somebody poorly clad holding archaic implements, Fast forward to today, and some of the most exciting people I interview on this show are young people doing innovations in agriculture. Like I mentioned, Mildred, and I've interviewed people who are doing coffee, cashew, and processing, exporting. I've interviewed people who have employed several other young people, and the narrative is no longer the same. Doesn't really matter what people think. If you believe in what you are doing and it's paying the bills, doesn't matter what people think.
Yeah, Albert, that's a very interesting question. I think it doesn't even only apply to agriculture. It applies to many sectors that traditionally we felt this way for school dropouts. I mean, we used to have that perception a while back.
Yeah.
I think it's gradually changing. And I think we should accelerate that change even more, particularly because we do see youth unemployment. So the starting point, Albert, would be for each person listening to me, ask yourself, what is your general interest? What are you interested in? If your interest is in agriculture, which aspect of agriculture? And sometimes we jump from interest to doing without the education. That won't work. And that's where, for us learning and development practitioners, we say you need to acquire the skills that will enable you to succeed. So you can have an interest in something, but if you don't have the education that goes with it, you would struggle. And that's where you can't do it at international level or international based on best practices. So if you're educated, you went to university, but you find that your passion is agriculture, go for it. Get education, do some short courses, get exposure, get knowledge, and then invest your time and attention and effort and exposure. Sometimes, Albert, it might even be shadowing someone who is very good, who has a successful agri business, and shadowing them. Say, I want to...
Explain shadowing for the benefit of somebody who has not encountered this idea before. What does shadowing mean, and how does it work in practical terms?
So let's say, Albert, you're a very successful businessman. You raise livestock and you're really successful. I'm a young graduate. I find that I'm interested in agriculture. I didn't study it, but I have interest. I would approach you and say, I like to intern for you. I like to work in your agri firm. And you see, the goal is not that I'm looking for money. I might get some help here and there in terms of stipends. Most people do that. But the goal is learning. Because without the knowledge, you cannot transfer your interest into profitable use. So there's a price to pay, which is investing into acquiring the right skills that will enable you to pursue your interest, your passion further on. So shadowing is really basically following someone, shadowing someone who is ahead of you, more experienced than you. They've made the mistakes, they've found ways and means of working, and then you have the opportunity to walk in their steps, observe them, and just learn alongside.
What is the benefit to the person that you shadow? When you shadow them, what's the benefit to them?
I think that it's, for some of them, it's legacy. They just want to give back to society. So I'm successful, and I just want to teach young people. Others, it's also have additional hands, because, we don't have, sometimes you don't even have the budget for human resource. So you can open up your enterprise and give people the opportunity to be there. And as they learn, you have additional pair of hands to do other things. But that's the benefit. But I think the biggest gift is that you're contributing to community development. I think for us in Ghana, in Africa, the mindset should be, whatever role or job you're in, there is a paid forward element. I think it's the unwritten code. If you only work for yourself and it ends with you, we can't prosper this country.
Pay forward.
Paid forward, it's a paid forward mentality. That as I work, who am I lifting along the way? Who am I investing in? Who am I deliberately, intentionally bringing on board to learn from me?
So
and it must
I'm
be
drawing another triangle. No, you are
too many things.
No, on the contrary. So here you are. You made a point about shadowing, and I'm drawing a triangle. You said shadowing is where a starter, somebody who's not experienced, wants to go into a field that is profitable, that they are passionate about, and they've learned a little, but they want to acquire practical experience. So they are going to shadow somebody who's way ahead who has done it, seen it, and made money. And you are seeing that the benefit to the person that is allowing the young person to come and shadow is that, yes, the legacy, they make the world a better place. And two, they get kind of like free labor, extra pair of hands. So let's break it down. What's the benefit to the young person who is shadowing the experienced person?
Thanks, Albert. You have the opportunity to learn and develop skill.
Firsthand.
And remember, knowledge is not skill. Skill is you get the exposure experience to apply it on a task. And the task to do is to start my own agri-business. So here you are. You've got the university to try your hands at something. Practical experience. This is what we need for young people. So for me, I think if I were a young person looking for a job opportunity, and if I map out what my interest is, my brainstorming effort will be, where can I go for the experience? Not for payment, but for the experience.
So you should be willing to work for free.
Of course.
Work for free to get
the experience.
The typical young person, and I don't presume to speak for them, but in my interaction with young people, a number of them want action now. So nice that you say work for free, but the person is saying, Charlie, from Dansuman to airport, I will not do it. I want to be paid now for what I do. And they think probably they have options. What would you say to them?
Of course, Albert. I mean, these things are practical and you can negotiate your way around them. If, for example, transport to this place is a challenge, speak about it. You know, Ghanaians particularly, we are kind people. And please, I'm just putting it as a general statement. If someone walked up to me in my agri-business and said, I just want to learn from you and I'm interested, I will make a concession. So that's what I mean is that if you're passionate about it, you will pursue it because your life depends on it.
The third leg of the triangle is society. You said community.
Community,
pay for
society,
it.
pay
Okay,
for
so the
it.
first one is the person who is given the internship. You said they benefit from legacy and free hands. Second person is a young person. They benefit from free experience. Gaining experience and learning from somebody else's mistakes. You called it a university at the workplace.
Exactly.
You said all this benefits community. So situate that in the community. What's the benefit to the community of shadowing?
I think that, Albert, if we, and that's where I'm glad if we have some of our policymakers listening in, we need to create more opportunities for young people to have these experiences and to know where to go. So, for example, if you look at the sectors, the leading sectors that holds promises for Africa, agri, certainly manufacturing, services, etc., and many other sectors that I won't even be able to list all of them. But we should create what we call skills hub, if there's anything like that. I think I dream of a Ghanaian or an Africa where access to getting these experiences is available and it's not complicated. That we've created the whole educational system in a way that places prime importance on creating exposure and experience for young people. So, for example, I think one of our national requirements after university is to do national service. That's an amazing opportunity for young people. But I dream of a future where we can organize it in a way that allows people, or maybe improve the system in a way that allows young people to obtain the required experience they need.
You know, I'm smiling.
Tell me.
Recently at a church conference, and you won't even think of that as a place where somebody is gaining practical experience. But at a Greater West conference, I meet a classmate of my last born about to go to write his A-level, nicely dressed in his suit, serving as a protocol assistant. And he smiles at me and I smile back and I introduce myself and I find out he has the same name with me and I ask him, what's up, what are you doing here? He says, I'm gaining practical experience to add to my university application. It will stand me in good stead for a scholarship. I'm standing there saying, wow, this is somebody who is serving in a church conference, wearing a suit with his tag and saying, this 5-day service I'm volunteering for will help me get a scholarship of thousands of dollars in an international educational institution. And he's doing it with a clear intent. He's serving God, but he's building practical experience.
Exactly. And now I think it's also, it builds or maybe connects our conversation back to a portfolio of skills. Because sometimes when you ask people, what experience do you have? I think that we should expand the portfolio of experience or skills.
I'm coming back to that portfolio as the next triangle after this break. This is Springboard, your virtual university. If you join us, we are building triangles today. That's our topic for today, building triangles. I think it's a nicer topic than the one we chose. But my guest is Ivy Mawuko. She's a learning and development expert with the leading financial institution of the continent. And what we're trying to do is to talk about the changing world of work and the building blocks that can help a young person to stay relevant and enjoy yourself in this world of work. So far, we've built 2 triangles. The first triangle is that to be able to do decent and fulfilling work, you must love what you do. Then you must be good at it. Then it must pay off. The bills are very important. It must pay off. That was the first triangle. Then the second triangle was about shadowing. She says, listen, sometimes you love something, but you just are not in that space. Maybe your career took you elsewhere, your parents forced you to do something, or you just happen to have learned something else. Part of acquiring that skill you need is shadowing. And she says shadowing is a triangular dimension of benefit. One, it benefits the person who creates the opportunity in terms of legacy, and also a couple of free hands to help with the work. For the young person, it's a golden benefit because you get so many years of experience free of charge by working for free under somebody who's way ahead of you. And she says for society, really, it creates opportunity for young people, and maybe you should be thinking of a skills hub where it's easy for these young people to get this experience without struggle because the system or policy facilitates that. When we come back, more triangles are coming. This is Springboard, your virtual university, brought to you by the Springboard Ratio Foundation and powered by MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, and the Ghana Growth Program, which is a collaboration between Springboard and MasterCard Foundation. Interestingly, aimed at helping young people find decent and fulfilling work, especially in areas that Africa has not focused on, that is agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET. When we come back, we'll be exploring the portmanteau or portfolio of skills that or experiences that a young person can talk about. Our media partners are the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. Let me share the Enterprise Advantage tip for the day. The question for today is, do my premiums increase as my age increases? When you take a policy, does your policy premium increase as your age increases? And the answer is very simple. Even though your age determines your premiums, it is only at the sign-up stage. Once you've signed up for the policy at a certain rate, your premiums do not increase as you age. It is only when you choose the inflation protector by choice that the premiums will increase just to respond to inflation. This tip is brought to you by the Enterprise Group, and the number to call 030-263-4777. Email info@myenterprisegroup.io. Enterprise, your advantage. In case you want to find out more about the Ghana Growth Program and you are a young woman excited about the opportunities in these spaces that I mentioned, the Ghana Growth Call Center, call or WhatsApp the number 030-8255-775. Just ask questions. What are the opportunities? Ivy says questions. The more questions you ask, the more opportunities you can find. Let's continue building triangles after the break. Please don't go away.
Good business means seeing the possibilities and maximizing opportunities. Making sure you have a responsive support system backs your business goals. A partner that gives you a stable platform with reliable connectivity and seamless solutions, and better understands the tools required to take you to the next level. With so many moving parts in running a business, we do our best to provide you with some stability. The only kind of stability you can find with MTN Business Broadband, the fastest and most reliable internet provider in Ghana, making sure you stay ahead and stay connected, because we understand what makes your business tick.
Sign up today on broadband.mtn.com.gh or call or WhatsApp 0244 308 111.
MTN. Known that you are driven by your sense of safety and well-being. It is what drives us to see you through from start to finish, from small to big. And in the last 100 years, as you have evolved, so have we also expanded to serve you in many ways. from cradle to grave. With expertise in insurance, life, pensions, properties, health, and for those beautiful memorable goodbyes. It's 2024, and in all our markets, our pedigree is recognized, our strength respected, our expertise valued, and our solutions sought by all who desire an advantage in life. Experience the time-tested and truly trusted 100 years legacy of Ghana's oldest insurer. Take charge of your future now. Insurance, life, pensions, property management, funeral services, health insurance. Enterprise, your advantage.
Springboard Hangout is fun-filled, educative, and impactful virtual conversations for young people. Discover and engage success stories and life lessons in the agriculture, agribusiness, and ATVET sectors. Join Comfort Okran on this adventurous and life-transforming journey. This and every Friday at 7 p.m. on Facebook at Comfort Okran A. Catch the repeat telecast on
Turning point. Yeah.
If you're a young person and you want to be a part of our various interventions, call or WhatsApp us on 0308 255 775 or visit www.springboard.com.gh.
The light has come. He's a return around.
Holy night, the stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error pining, till he appeared and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoices, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn.
On your knees, oh, hear the angel voices. Oh, night divine, oh, night when Christ was born. Night
When Christ was
Indeed. Welcome back to Springboard of Virtual University and to this interesting conversation about relevance in a changing world of work. My guest, Ivy Mawuko, she works with a financial institution as a learning and development expert, and she's helping us to understand how fast the world of work is changing and the determinants of a decent and fulfilling job. She says, love what you do, be good at it, and most importantly, make sure that it brings in the cash. And she's also built a second triangle around shadowing. She says it benefits the person giving the opportunity, the person taking the opportunity, and society as a whole. On that very triangular note, let's move to the next phase of our conversation. Ivy, how do we ensure relevance, competitiveness? Because as the world of work changes, I mean, an individual can today be very bright, very on top, and if they don't add value to themselves, find themselves certainly out there with, I mean, left at the back of the queue. Give us the framework for the individual, then we look at the organization, and then look at society as a whole. Let's start with the individual. What are the key thoughts or determinants of building a good career?
Oh, that's wonderful, Albert. So I think for the individual, we would say that you start off with knowing who you are, your personality. We're very different, Albert. Some are outgoing, others are more reserved. Some are adventurous, others are cautious. Who are you? And what's your God-given personality? And it's time to celebrate who you are and not wish to be someone else. So you need to know who you are. And your personality has career implications. Some people say, I love to work with people. I love to work with things. I like to work with data. I love to work with ideas. It's linked to your personality.
Okay.
So understand who you are. Second, understand and know your general interests. What are you interested in? There's a place for your interests and turning your interests into career opportunities. So find out what your interest is. And sometimes interest is not enough. You need to be educated. So if I suddenly want to become a psychologist, I need to study psychology and get the training. So find your interest in terms of your career interests. Find out what is missing and get developed or trained for that. And then begin to understand your skills and abilities. What are you already good at? And call it out. And I think we talked about it earlier on around the portfolio of skills. You've done things, you've worked in different places. What were the skills that you developed and acquired? That is natural to you. Be aware of that. And then your values. What are you looking for in life?
How important are values?
It's everything. It's your compass to life. And you can look at values at 3 levels. One is work outcome values. I'm doing this work and this is what I want out of it. For people do work because they want to express themselves, leadership opportunities, recognition, higher income. Others are working just because they also want to express themselves. So what is your career outcome values? And then you look at your work environment values. Others want to work in an environment where it's harmonious, environment where there's high integrity. So be aware of what the kind of work environment you want to work in. And finally, and most important, your life values.
That's your personal ethics.
That's your personal ethics. I just want to please God. That's my life value. And it doesn't mean that I have to work necessarily in, so my work ethics is informed by my life values. What's yours? So this combination of your personality, your general interest, what are you interested in? Your skills and abilities, and your values.
So these are the 4 things.
These are 4 things. And there are assessment instruments out there that can give you a report or a picture of who you are, and that can direct your career for you. If you don't know, ask people, but ask deliberately.
So every person at every level, from the beginner, the national service person, all the way through to the CEO, in this year 2024, find time in your busy schedule to sit down and ask yourself these 4 questions. Who am I? What kind of personality? That's number 1. Number 2, what are my general interests? Number 3, what are my skills and abilities? And number 4, what are my values? What do I treasure? What will I go to war for? And what will I not do, no matter how much it pays? Let's move on to the companies. I mean, the company is listening to us right now and is thinking that I need to shake up my HR system. I need to shake up my staffing. At the time I hired my people, they were on top. But with the changing world, it would seem that a lot of them are falling behind on the pace. What must companies do to ensure that their staff mix, their people are always on top?
So thank you so much, Albert. I think the first thing I'll point out is do not compromise on employee development, your employee development budget, and create opportunities and conditions for people to acquire the knowledge and skills and experiences they need for the work they do. So the starting point is see employee development as a business imperative. It's an input into building a good business.
And not a cost.
It's not a cost. It's not a cost.
Actually.
And I think it's also important to look at the sector you are in. What is the future looking like? What are the skills that you will be needing that you don't have today? What are the skills that the world of work is asking for your business? Because it will differ from business to business. And apply that thinking to be able to forecast the kinds of skills investment that you need to do as a company. And that's very key, because you don't want to be out of business because suddenly you were too late in repositioning your business to have the right human resources to deliver the work you need. And I think this takes a lot of deliberate effort to really do that research work for your business. What is the future skills that this business needs? And what are the skills gap that we have? And then invest. Investing, businesses can borrow, they can buy, and they can build. I have a bias towards build the skills. Of course, sometimes we need to buy and borrow, but build your employees to have the skills they need to do their work so that they are future ready. Invest in their development, provide opportunities for your employees to learn, and don't compromise the learning budget.
You said the building is to take what you have presently and build them. When does it work and when does it not work?
I mean, if you look at the whole...
Let's say you have a company
you want to build.
like Springboard is youth-led. So we are investing a lot in staffing with young people, giving them opportunity, inspiring them, and daring them to do things that typically should have been done by people 10 years above them. And that is the build model. When does it work and when does it not work?
That's interesting. I haven't yet come across... Well, I think I get you, Albert, because you could have a build strategy that could be inefficient.
Yes.
So I hear you now. I mean, to run a building human resource framework, we would say that you typically look at how skills are developed. Certainly there will be an education component. There would be the component of mentoring and coaching, and then providing opportunity for experience. So that's a combination that works. And when I talk about the bias towards building your human resource, it's not to say, let's take everyone for training. You would have done the assessment for the critical roles that you have in the organization to say, we actually need data scientists, or we need computer programmers, or we need someone who can actually package this product. Whatever the skills gap is, if you don't have it, then you can decide to build the employees' capacity to be able to acquire those. Others have a strategy where they can even decide to have a young graduate program, as a build, as to fill in the pipeline. So what happens is that I anticipate that I need this kind of skills for this business. I don't have it yet, but I would deliberately bring young people in and be intentional about developing them so that they have the skills to work for me. So you're really, when you're building, you're very deliberate.
Okay.
And the number of factors that...
I like the word deliberate, which means that if you build by cut and paste and
it
you're
will
not
work.
deliberate,
You
it will
really
work.
need to. The context is your business.
Right.
So you can't actually even copy another organization's framework. Some of the principles cut across, but your context matters. Your business context defines your build strategy.
Which means that if you go and lift somebody's you say you're building, but you build the building, the window will be like this.
Context always informs your
All right.
strategy.
All right.
Your business context, be it small, mid-sized corporates, context will inform your build framework.
Let's go on to the buy approach. What is the buy approach? Is it like buying midfielders for your football team?
No, but they do that also.
Yeah.
So someone will
the build is the academy approach. The academy approach is the build for the football team. So if Manchester United develops academy, that's the building approach. The buying is how you go and buy Ronaldo.
You actually answered it out, but exactly the same way. So you go to the market. I need the skills. I don't have it in-house. I need to find who, and then you pay premium because you don't. Right. The demand is high for that skill, but we don't have them. So you go out and then you look.
So what will be the benefits of that one? There definitely are benefits of bringing somebody who has got it all experienced What is the benefit of that one?
You've got the skill right when you need it.
So it hits the ground
You
running.
hit the ground running. And of course, sometimes there are also challenges because sometimes the turnaround time to buy that skill can take forever.
Okay.
Because if I'm the only person who has this specialization in this field,
Finding is difficult.
finding is difficult and you pay premium. I think you talked about buying Ronaldo.
Yeah,
Cristiano. You would
it's not
pay
cheap.
quite a bit to be able to have that talent. So the combination of build and buy can work. Borrow would be more of,
Let's stay with the buy for 1 second.
okay,
Is there also a risk with the fact that if the person leaves, they suddenly leave a huge hole in the?
absolutely.
It would seem to be one
that
more
would
risk
be one of
with
the
the buy
risks,
strategy.
yes.
So it has advantages, but also its own.
It does.
Let's go to the borrow one. The one, the loan player.
Yeah, actually, well ahead of this conversation.
I'm just enjoying it. I like football, so
I think
I
that
believe everything to
yeah,
football.
it's like you come in, and those would be like your outsourced services.
Oh, okay.
So you would find that this organization is good at providing a service for you. So you can be like your consultants. They come in to do a particular work or activity
And
for
leave.
you, and then they leave.
Oh,
But
wow.
you know, Albert, when I was reflecting on this some time back, I said for each of these framework or principles, be it build, buy, or borrow, you can be very deliberate about retaining the knowledge and skill in the organization. It depends on how you frame the whole engagement process with the individual. So you understand. So even if you buy, you can say this is a rare skill we have. This individual, we know that he might be a very high flight risk. He might work for 2 or 3 years and leave us. So the plan would be have him mentor and coach others, and maybe contract him or her, sorry, contract for that. If it's borrow, you can also decide to have someone deliberately follow, like the word shadowing.
Yeah.
So it's how you actually the engagement process around, because what you really want is you do not want your business to be in a situation where you don't have the human resource required to deliver on your services or promise to customers.
Before we close out in the next couple of minutes, let's talk about the third block in the triangle. The individual can do their part, the company can do their part, but there are major players in the external environment, external stakeholders, their parents, their media. We are trying to build a world where if the person is doing baking and that's what they want, they must be able to hold their head up high and say, I do this and I love it. Is there a role that parents, community, society, the media, everyone else can play to make that kind of environment possible where a person can pursue decent and fulfilling work and not come home crying because they mentioned what they do and everybody burst out laughing?
That's really interesting, Albert. And that's a sobering moment. I think for the first will be for parents to have career conversations, but do not start with which jobs pay well, and that's where you need to pursue. But to really start off with, who is this child? Who is this person that I'm a steward over? And what is their design? What are they good at? And nurture and guide and have them have the exposure. So, and also to just caution, there are certain family, I would say vocations. We know families who say this person was a doctor, my son was a doctor. It can work. So I'm not saying that could not be the case, but we don't necessarily want our children to follow the same careers we did because it might be very different. Sometimes it's the same. So I'm not trying to say it's one or the other.
It works in some instances.
It works
in some instances,
in many
it can
instances,
get
actually.
extremely bad. In extreme circumstances, children have committed suicide because they were
Exactly.
forced
We don't
along
want
a
that.
path.
So
but there are some very beautiful success
and I've
stories.
seen those as well.
Yes.
So it's actually, and sometimes actually it's a natural apprenticeship you a model at home because they see what you do and they're like, I can do that. I can be like you, which is amazing. And I think you should go for that. But where there are differences, please have an engaging conversation to say, what can I do to support you? I think for our policymakers, Albert, Ghana's growth and Africa's growth really, it's not the lack of opportunities in Africa or in Ghana. There isn't a lack. What people need is to unlock their potential, to leverage of opportunities here. People come here and make so much. So there is a gap in terms of what our young people or individuals need to leverage of those opportunities. I think policy should be more around the sectors that holds promises for this country, and to really engage a skills agenda for those policies beyond education into practical skills acquisition for young people. Place it in a way that it's available. The media can be such a big player in this. You create the news, you make the news, you look for the news. Let's celebrate.
You say they only publish what
Let's publish individuals who are doing so much, creating opportunities for young people. Let's talk about opportunities that exist, so people know, people listen. Put it in on social media that this opportunity is here for young people. Let's say in vocational training, if you are a plumber, you can get this training and become a highly skilled plumber with this credential. I think
look at the light. Look at the light in your eyes and how much you are enjoying this.
I really am.
So I'm back to the 4-point framework you give for the individual. You must know your personality, you must know your interests, you must know your skills, and you must know your values. Listen, you are operating right where you are. and all too soon, that brings us to the end of this conversation. And you could literally do this for hours and still feel highly motivated. Before I come to you for your closing thoughts, let me just summarize the 3 triangles that you've built in this program for recall purposes and for continuing this exciting conversation on social media. Ivy Mawuko, my guest for today, built the first triangle about your decent and fulfilling work, and her prognosis or her hypothesis was that for anyone doing decent and fulfilling work, you must first love what you do, 2, be good at it, and 3, understand how money is made in that field. Number 2, she talked about shadowing as one of the quick blocks to help young people migrate into areas that they may find interest in but not be good at. And she says that shadowing can be beneficial to the person given the opportunity in terms of being able to leave a legacy and then also get free hands to do the work. It is beneficial to the person doing the shadowing. That is, you go and work for somebody for free to understand the engine of their business. You literally get to have a whole university in a short while, learning from somebody's mistakes that they've made for years in a very short time. And she says the society gets a better return because many more young people are transitioning to work. And she's saying that we should be deliberate about even a skills hub that allows young people to do that very easily without a struggle. The 3rd triangle she's built is about how to create relevance from the individual perspective, from the corporate perspective, and then from the external stakeholders perspective. She says the individual must understand your personality, your interests, your skills, and your values. Companies must first see their investment in staff as an imperative for strategy and not just a cost. 2, they must do a skills gap analysis between their current skills available vis-a-vis the future skills required. And the 3rd one is the most important: invest. Put money where your heart is. And the 3 areas you can look at, we borrowed from the football analogy, is to either build the team or buy the skills that you need or borrow them. And she says in her personal experience, the building is more sustainable. The final one is about stakeholders. She says parents, have clean career conversations with your young people and don't start with money. Start with a broader sense of the child as an asset God has given you and who they really are, so you don't put them under undue pressure. Number 2, policymakers explore opportunities in untapped areas and promising areas and have a skills agenda. And then finally, the media and everyone who has a voice amplify success stories that talk about opportunities so our young people can see that it's a great country they live in and they will live here and not travel outside the country. That's my own addition. Ivy, sign off this conversation and let me learn from you.
That was an amazing recap, Alvis.
So look into this camera and speak to somebody as we sign off on this conversation, Ivy Mawuko.
Thank you, Albert. For anyone listening out there, you've heard such a wonderful conversation with Albert on meaningful work. And you may be wondering, look, I'm at home, I'm not even employed, I don't know where to go, somebody to talk to. I just want to invite you to really know that you are here in Ghana or wherever you are listening to for a purpose. You're not an accident. There is a purpose for your life. Or even if you're working and you feel, I just need to change my direction, there's a place for that as well. Remember, God commissioned work. And so maybe it's time to get to know about the creator of work, and that could be your starting point. But I think for everyone listening who has an opportunity to help someone and to listen to someone's story, I remember someone told me that every Ghanaian who is in that position should be called Chief Hope Officer. That through you, someone can just sit and you will listen and give them a guide or give them an opening or express a thought that might launch them into something that they never thought they could do. So we are all, in a sense, Chief Hope Officers for each other.
On that very inspiring conclusion, I salute the Chief Hope Officer, Ivy Mawuko, for making time for this conversation. Thank you so much, Ivy.
Thank you, Albert, for having me here.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Please invite me again.
Let's do this. Yeah, I like that. I love that. Let's do this again. And that's a promise you will keep. So my guest for today has been Ivy Mawuko. She's a learning and development expert working with the leading financial institution on the continent. We've been talking about building triangles as we explore the world of work, which is migrating very rapidly, and how to stay on top and feel fulfilled doing what you love, understanding it, being good at it, and making the cash in the process. If you have thoughts about this very exciting subject, please let's have a robust debate on social media. Which was your favorite triangle? What do you think? Where do you differ? What angle or perspective do you bring to this conversation? Let's talk on social media. But till then, my name is Albert Okran, saying thank you on behalf of the Springboard Roadshow Foundation, MTN Ghana, the Enterprise Group, Ghana Growth Program run by MasterCard Foundation and Springboard, and then our media partners, the Multimedia Group and the Graphic Communications Group. I would like to say God bless you, and God bless you.
Turning point, yeah. He's a turnaround.